Well, good evening, and hi there, Chloe and Majenko. Prompter than I am, as usual. So, this evening, the plan had been to demonstrate the VT240 because it is finally working, and after Tuesday's bonus stream, I discovered or corrected a couple of soldering faults on the RGB to HDMI analog board, which were causing the problems we were seeing with lack of termination on the green and blue channels, and with that in place and the mid-level blue comparator similarly finessed. Hi RF, how are you doing? It all came to life and I managed to dial in the settings absolutely perfectly, and it looked brilliant on screen. And so I spent yesterday evening, like today, it is incredibly sunny here, so this is natural. I should probably turn the room lights on actually, because otherwise the sun will eventually disappear and then it'll plunge into darkness and I won't notice. Yeah, so I spent yesterday evening working through the demo I was going to do on the VT240, and it was performing quite well. It was all looking good. And I came downstairs this morning. Well, no difference is seen because it's being dominated by the natural light, because this is a west-facing room, so it's got the sun directly on the window at the moment. Yeah, came down this morning and fired up the VT240 to see whether it was worth moving my demo over to a different laptop as a hardware serial port, because USB UARTs, as I have said before, are dreadful at handshaking. And no signs of life whatsoever. The 240 has completely and utterly died overnight. Not even the power good light is on, so it's obviously a power supply fault of some sort, or say obviously, it could be bloody anything, but it's probably the power supply. So I could take the top off and have a look at some point, but I'm not going to do it now because we were so close, and then nothing. So instead, we are going to take a look at this. If I can lift it up one-handed, which I probably can't. Nope. Let's turn it around so you can see the front. Whoops, knocked it over my knee. That is a DEC Rainbow, which I was given at the same time as the VT240, and it has spent, oh god, sorry, spent the last, I don't know, 30 years plus, probably quite a bit plus, 35 years at least, in the same attic underneath the VT240. So I am expecting it might be in a similar shape, in that it might need attention, it might not. It's got different RAM chips on it. I think it's 4164s, which are the same ones that the VT240 uses for its video circuitry, and those are all fine. It was the 8 something or others in the 240 that were more than 50% broken. Yeah, so something is probably weed all over all of it, Majenko. The monitor is in the garage, the correct VR240. Is it 240? I think so, yes, 241 maybe. Is in the garage, and it's covered in something, so it needs a thorough cleaning before I go anywhere near that. But I thought we'd take the top off this, take the major components out so that we can inspect them all, because things to worry about here. Power supply, obviously. I did a cursory check when I got it. I didn't see any reavers in there, but I want to double check just in case. The RX50 floppy drive, we'll see if we can have a look at that, see whether it looks mechanically sound. And there's a hard drive in there, which I think we'll just disconnect to start with. We can also remove the various option boards to get it down to a bare minimum configuration and bring it up from there, hopefully. What else? During the week a new floppy drive arrived, 5.25 inch, 1.2 meg, so 80 track, high density. I tried to buy one in November when I got the Rainbow, because you need an 80 track drive to image RX50 floppies, and I didn't have one, and the one I got didn't work. Doesn't appear to have a functioning read amplifier, perhaps. I couldn't really nail it down beyond that. Hi Spies, how are you doing? So yeah, I can now image the Rainbow floppy disks, so I don't have to. So I know that media is sound. I've already gone through several boxes of backup copies of various things. I've left the originals alone for now because I have the original discs. They're upstairs somewhere for CPM, MS-DOS. I think the Winchester option, maybe. I have the disc for that, and I have the graphics option disc, and possibly the intro to Rainbow, all on original media. And I have backup copies of MS-DOS, CPM, the graphics stuff, the Winchester utilities, Multiplan, which would be fun, a word processor package by the looks of it, but I'm not sure whether that disc's any good. It didn't read cleanly, and Lotus 123 complete set, so that'll be fun. As we all know, I am a Lotus 123 fanatic. And hi Cobb, how are you doing? So anyway, let's pop the lid off. And I've already adjusted the adapter board for the video to cope with the mono output from the Rainbow, because it's weird. It drives the green gun off the mono output usually, so you have to have a cable that swaps them over, and it's a bit weird, but anyway, we'll get to that once we get to actually firing it up. Cobb and me, well, I sliced my thumb open with the cheese slicer yesterday, so that was a good start, and then the VT240 died overnight, so that was an even better start. Anyway, let's get down to it, and this time I'll stand up rather than try and hunt this thing up with one hand. 1 second. Whoops. And we'll switch scenes. No. Oh, hi Phil, how are you doing? Cobb, no, it wasn't working before I went live. It was working last night when I ran through the demo, and then I came down this morning to try it on a different machine, and nothing. Power supply's gone. And no, all you heathens with non-123 spreadsheets, no, I'm not having it. Right, so the nice thing about the Rainbow is it's a completely toolless, toolless for field service. There are two catches on the bottom which you can't see, but you just slide those forward, and then the top should come on. The live demo, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, where are we? Right, pop those back. Huh. This is your fault, Cobb, because I literally took the lid off a quarter of an hour before stream to make sure that I had remembered the insides correctly. Come on. Just pull up. It is catching on something. There we go. It was catching on the Winchester. So, anyway. Right, let's have a look. Carbonara sounds good, Phil. And thank you as usual, Cobb, for the contribution there. Which hard drive is that? It's a big hard drive. We shall get to that, but first let's unhook the major components. You probably can't see hugely well. Let's turn it around. So this pile of cabling at the side needs to come out first, which is the power connector. One of DEC's nice ribbon things. This one is the Winchester connector, so that can come out. Yeah, don't do this with a gash on your thumb. Got to get that off the grounding lug. And then this one is the floppy drive cable. And then with those three, we unhook the power from there and down there. And another grounding lug. They were serious about grounding an RF in this thing. And then we should be able to push down there. And out comes the floppy drive. God, there's another grounding strap back here. And out comes the hard drive. And the hard drive is an ST412, aka the RD51. There we go. So, big beefy boy. I mean, I could do Majenko, especially if it's broken. If it's broken, you might be welcome to it. So, what we want is to undo that clasp there. You didn't see. Clasp there on the power supply, which should let us unplug these two. And then the power supply should similarly lift out somehow. No, it obviously pivots out this way. Bear with me. Okay, you need to push down on the strap that holds it as well as undo the clasp. And then almost there, I swear. As I whack the mic, just got to get this one free. There we go. Right, so that's the power supply free, and you'll notice that we can't actually see any of the gubbins, the motherboard, etc. We'll get to that shortly. It comes out separately. Because my thumb is really not liking that. Right, screwdrivers. Well, certainly built to have modules replaced easily. Repaired might be another thing, but let's see, what do these screws look like? Phillips. Yes, again, the curse of the iFixit engraving in foam. Right, Phillips is down there. Yes, I suppose when it comes to field circus, you just want to swap parts out and be done with it. Or at least where do we want to go here? The quicker you can swap the parts out, the quicker the customer can be up and running. Oh, that's not right, is it? Right, it looks like we might have to slice these cable ties as well, unfortunately. Yeah. So, clang. Let's see if we can get that without... There we go. So let's see what we have in here. Chef Radar, thanks for the follow and hello. How are you doing? Okay, the good news is I don't see any reefers. I stand to be corrected, but unless there is one lurking in this suspicious looking mains filter box at the end. Which there always could be. Can we get that out to have a look? It looks like a sealed module. Let's give it a go. In case anybody thinks the whole sort of defusing reefers ahead of time is just paranoia. I had one pop in the office a few weeks ago and it took several weeks for the smell to dissipate because the air conditioning isn't working. Right, this is a Qualcomm EMI filter. It is again a big chunky one, made in Mexico. No obvious way of telling if there's a reefer in it. Shall we look it up? Qualcomm F2987A. Replacing power entry module on Rainbow power supply on the VC Fed forums. Excellent. Let's see. Oh, so this is the usual approach from people who don't have ham licenses of I don't care, I bypassed it. Naming no names. See. Nobody's mentioning whether there's a reefer in there, so let's try looking that up. Reefer. No hits. I think we're probably safe to fire it up. All we need to do now is work out how to get the screws back in. 1 second. Best place for it, Chloe. There we go. But yes, I understand Majenko has been hard at work on the PDP-11 today and has discovered some fun things, so I think we're going to run here until the top of the hour. And then we'll hand over to Majenko if he wants to do a stream this evening, which I believe he does. And if he doesn't, we'll just keep on plugging away in the darkness and seeing what happens. So anyway, I think we're okay to just plug this in and see what happens, but let's get the screws in first. I forget you're on Twitter too. What Jack Dorsey did next. I do not have an account, so I am afraid I erred on the side of you not having posted anything about it. Let's have a look. Clicky clicky. Yes, okay, right. So that is something you have mentioned outside of the confines of the Discord. Excellent. So yes, Majenko's been hard at work repairing some extremely corroded boot ROMs on his PDP-11 CPU board, so hopefully he might see some actual signs of life from it today, because he didn't yesterday. This, where's the... This thing is dirtier than I thought. I should have to give it a thorough cleaning. But I don't think we can apply power to this without it being in the system unit, because that's where the main switch is. So let's move on to getting out the what DEC call the system module, which is the motherboard and associated gubbins. 1 second. And on the Rainbow, that is done by undoing these thumb screws along the back, which might need a coin actually, so not quite toolless. Yep, I can get a grip on that. Might need a thinner coin. Oh, you sods. You absolute... There we go. I'll take that one. Come on, where's the... I was getting tricked by the light, was I? Yes. Yes, Phil, it's definitely a case of stuff lives on the floor whilst I need it in short order, because otherwise it has to go upstairs. And I need the room on the table. I do need to now that, well no, I was going to say now that the VT240 is working, move a lot of the stuff that I was using to work on that back upstairs, but of course now it's not working, so project for next week. Right, that one's gone. Right, And with those out, we can slide out the entire system module. He says. There we go. Now we are left with an empty case. Save for the power switch. And not much to see from here because the entire top surface is taken up with the expansion modules. Now the Rainbow was, as I think anybody who's heard of it will know, a critical failure, or a commercial failure effectively. Where's the... No. There were several reasons. One is that it wasn't actually PC compatible. It's an 8086, it's MS-DOS compatible, it's an 8088 I suppose, but it's not PC compatible, so that's not good. DEC did their usual thing of wanting you to buy RX50 floppies from them, so the initial versions couldn't, I believe, format the disks. You had to buy them pre-formatted. And expansion options were very limited. You have... This one, I believe, is the colour stroke graphics option board. This one's a memory expansion board. This one is the floppy controller, which was part of the standard build. And this one along here is the Winchester disk controller, or hard drive controller. I could swear it talks about Winchesters, but it just uses W as the key to boot from it, I can't remember. And each one of these has a dedicated set of connectors on the motherboard, which are basically designed for one purpose only. There isn't any general purpose expansion bus, there's no ISA or anything like that. So there wasn't much you could do with it to expand it beyond this. Even the Winchester controller was sort of an afterthought. It plugs into the expanded communications port, extended communications option ports, because DEC thought that better comms was going to be what they needed to compete, and it turns out that the hard drive was what they needed to compete, so they built it to fit there. There were some third-party options. I believe someone built an Ethernet adapter for it, which probably fit in the same place as the Winchester, which would be unfortunate. Unless it got clever, I don't know, I'll have to look that up. But someone did build an Ethernet adapter for it, but because it was a very niche product, it's rarer than Rocking Horse organic byproduct. So, yeah. This is pretty much a tricked out... The only thing it doesn't have is a full complement of memory, and we'll see that in a minute. So this is as expanded as it gets, but it means you can't see anything at this stage. So let's pop out some of the boards. We'll pop out the Winchester controller first, because I think we're going to try it out without the hard drive if we get around to trying it out today. So pull the tab out, and it should then lift up. Come on. Okay, let's get the floppy controller out first then. What's it stuck on? Oh, a stupid little PCB holder there. Right. So there's the floppy controller, not much on that side, but all the gubbins on there. And the Winchester. So here we go, they're in the motherboard connectors. I shall look at them. The fact that they could fit this to it, where that was designed for communications only, means that is probably the closest it has to a system bus expansion. So we'll look at that at some point. And this is the memory expansion board, so that can come out easily enough in theory. Am I missing one? Oops. So here we have... There are 3 banks of memory on the thing. We've got 2 of them filled. What are they filled with? Oh no, one bank is filled with 8264s, which sounds suspiciously like the part that wasn't working in the VT240. And the other is filled with HM5256. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 256k there, we've got 64k there, and I think there's 128 on the motherboard. So 128, 384, 888. That doesn't sound right. I thought I had more than that. We can look at that, but again, we'll try it without the expansion first. In case any of the chips on there are bad, then at least we'll be able to narrow things down. And then finally, this is the graphics and colour board. So despite being called the Rainbow, by default the machine is monochrome. That's marketing logic for you. In fact, it's monochrome and text only. So it's three. They touted it as a triple function machine when it was launched. So there we go. Graphics. Oh, D7220. That's, I think, the same graphics controller as the VT240. Makes sense. They're out the same vintage. So yeah, where's the graphics memory on that? I'm just looking to see if I need to worry about any of the chips. I don't see the graphics RAM off the top of my head. It must be this one over here. And I can't read it. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so its three functions were 8088 for 16-bit software, Z80 for 8-bit CPM software, and a VT52, I think, emulator in ROM. Might be VT100. So you could use it as a terminal as well as a desktop computer. And then the colour and graphics were an optional extra. And as I said, when you install the colour, because the onboard display logic is driving the monochrome pin on the video output, when you install the colour board, by default the green pin on that gets mapped through to the mono pin on the motherboard. So you then have to have a cable that puts the mono pin coming out of the motherboard onto the green gun on the CRT. So that mono text mode and monochrome shows up in green, and then graphics can show up in colour. In theory, this means that you can split the two apart and have the graphics driving RGB, so you can have coloured graphics and mono text, a lot like a PC with a CGA or EGA alongside a Hercules or an MDA card. And it's described as theoretical when you look this up in a lot of places. But I think Lotus 123 actually came with drivers that use that feature, as did the GSX 86 graphics software for CPM that came with it. So in theory we can play with that at some point. But let's just inspect this board quickly. Everything's looking fairly good actually. I don't see any electrolytics to worry about, for instance. Yeah, it looks like it's actually probably better construction than the VT240. Well, that's a nice... Is that a light pipe? Huh. No, it can't be. What? There were some ridges cut in it. Here. See if we can get that on camera. Almost as if it is a light pipe, but I don't see any LEDs underneath it. That's very strange. Just a bracing bar? Yeah, there are the diagnostic LEDs on the back, so they're actually on the back panel. Anyway, yeah, the construction actually looks like it might be easier to rework than the VT240 if we actually do need to, but for the time being everything's looking pretty good. No obvious signs of corrosion anywhere. Well, okay, there's perhaps one dodgy looking pin on that ROM there. But it's only a ground pin. Who cares? There's no ground pins. Yeah, okay. I vote we send it. Yeah, you might be right, Phil. I'll have a look in the case in a second. Yeah, it would make sense. You do need some sort of alignment in the middle, don't you? Yeah. Okay, grounding tabs look intact, so, or RFI tabs, so let's get it back together. We want the memory and the graphics and the Winchester out, but we put the floppy drive controller back in. What I've done here is confused myself by turning it round through 180 degrees. There we go. What's that for then? No, this has to go over here. There we go. I was confused because it overhangs the end a bit there. There we go. That should be the bare minimal system. Support for floppy drive, and yeah, right. So let's have a look here. I don't see a guide groove for the PCB runner, but it's probably just to support it as you slide it in, I guess. We shall find out. No, it's not one square. Oh, come on. There's a runner at that end. And a runner at that end. Excellent. Okay, well, we're only buttoning it up temporarily, I suppose, like this, so beg pardon. And power supply. So this tab levers in there. Oh. And reattach the fan and main switch. Oh no, those must just be the fan, and the main switch is over here. That's is that a? That would appear to be a 240 volt fan with dual feeds. That's concerning. And the floppy drive. Do we want to inspect the floppy drive quickly before we send it? No, I vote let's fire it up. We won't try any media in it because I don't have any media downstairs with me at the moment, but we'll pop the drive in. so at least the controller will recognise it's there. Why is that not clicking in? Oh, it is now. Excellent. And the power cable over here. Would help if I had it the right way around, but luckily it's keyed, so no harm done. Come on. Okay. Yeah, so the RX-50, I presume, well, obviously, Phil, being a floppy drive expert yourself of some renown, you are aware of the eccentricities of the RX-50 design. Let's pop the lid on just for cosmetic sake, but for the benefit of others, they have, it's two drives in one unit, but they share a motor and a head sled, head carriage. So instead of having a single-sided drive, so you've got a head that reads the underside of the top disc, which goes in normally, and then the bottom disc goes in upside down so that it could read the top side of the disc, the underside of the disc from the top. So we'll see whether it works. Actually, I'm going to leave the top off because it's not sitting down too easily. So let's turn it around this way and hook up the RGB to HDMI adapter. Into which we need to plug the RGB to HDMI, I presume, and find a keyboard. And the keyboard on the Rainbow plugs into the monitor if you've got the monochrome monitor, or into the adapter box at the monitor end of the monitor cable if you've got the colour. But I don't have either of the official cables, so it plugs into my adapter board. So we probably want power, don't we? Power, power, power. Where's that plugged in? That's plugged into something with some juice going through it, so that's good. So let's bring up the menu on the. Why is there no power to the RGB to HDMI? There we go. There's power. If I bring up the open interface, that's not what I was expecting to see when I clicked that. That was. So I should be able to press that button and get the RGB to HDMI menu up. Excellent. So let's cross fingers and see what happens. Fire 1. Beep from the keyboard, power supply is working, at least on the 12 volt rail. Ooh. Esting. I presume it ate the tea. Why has the... well, the drive span up. Message 8, drive A. Yeah, so 128k is the base RAM on the Model B, which this is, which was the later one. The Model A came with 64, but 64 wasn't actually enough to run any 8-bit software, strangely enough, because the 8088 and the Z80 share memory. So the 8088 code has to move out of the way of CPM running on the Z80, and it can't if you've only got 64k. So a memory expansion was pretty much vital if you wanted to use the machine as advertised. Okay, let's try S for execute self-test. Esting again. What I would really like actually is a PCW or a CPC. The 6128 obviously is the nice one, or a PCW 8256 I suppose. But the PCW was just a lovely bit of design really, both in terms of industrial design and how they rigged the thing to work. The bootloader on it is absolute insanity. It boots by reading a byte stream which is synthesized by the printer controller. And that copies itself into RAM and then loads a sector off disk and runs it, or loads the bootstrap off disk. So, great fun. So, why are we... I presume the Esting runs for a while. Let's see if we can adjust the... Actually, no, I'm... Some interesting noises. Message 6, drive A. I wonder if it's unhappy because the drive doors are closed. Let's press A and see if drive A actually responds. Drive C. Ha. Okay, drive not ready from the Winchester controller. That's to be expected because the Winchester controller is sitting on the floor. Let's pop into terminal mode quickly and have a look around here. Yeah, this is not the prettiest setup screens you've ever seen on the machine, but at least now we've got somewhere we can try adjusting the geometry. Hang on. That was the wrong button. There we go. And offset. Sorry, I'm at a really awkward angle there because I forgot to turn my monitor around. 1 second. Why do you not have... Ah, hang on. There we go, that's what I wanted. So we need to go back in here and say setup mode. We're losing, I think, the last character cell. So let's say there we go. And we'll save that as a custom Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I've just overwritten the VT240 configuration. Never mind. And we'll say auto-calibrate sampling, even though it's not a good signal for that, just to get rid of that slight shimmer. Nah. Oh well, cock that up. Yeah, that really isn't actually very good, is it? Anyway, we'll stick with it for the time being. Yeah, it could be a direct port. It doesn't look like any of the later model VTs that I'm familiar with, the 240, the 320, 220, 320, 420, have a very distinctive menuing system at the bottom of the screen. But this tabs does look familiar. Anyway, let's get rid of that. And what's the reset key? Is it Control Do? No, we'll try powering off. Now this time the drive doors are open, so maybe it won't complain about not having a disc in there. Or it could. Well, it was spinning. I think the head carriage is no error. Okay, I was going to say I think the head carriage is stuck, but there was no error that time. So what happens if we press A? It attempted to boot. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to go and get a floppy disk. We have floppy disks. Let's find a copy of... Or do you want MS-DOS or CP/M first, folks? That's the question. Because there's MS-DOS. None of the floppies are flippy, unfortunately, no. CP/M, okay, CP/M it is. Oops. What was that disk? Oh, that one's dead anyway. Manages to read one whole sector. I think I have the owner's manual upstairs, actually. I just forgot to bring it all downstairs with me. So... RX50 floppy disk. Oh, it does not like that. It does not like that because there was a disk in the drive already. Huh. System load incomplete. Maybe drive A is unhappy. Let's try to drive B. Light comes on. Oh, okay. Excellent. Let's just get that geometry fixed again. That one. Oh, that should do it. Well, that was good timing. We've got about 3 minutes, and we'll hand over to Majenko if he's planning on firing his stream up. Save configuration. And return, and let's have a look. Indeed we are. Oh, Kermit. Okay, we have a way of getting files onto it. Stat. Wonder what red is. Okay. Red. Whatever. Dot. Foo. Well, that answers that. Okay, that looks like a... Oh dear. Enter text. No. Oh, you have to press I for insert first, do you? Okay. Excellent, you shall boot the bot, shall you, Majenko? Okay, well, give me a shout when you're ready, and I shall raid over. Enter text and then do to exit that, is it? And we'll just quit. Keep or abandon? Abandon. Okay. Well, that's a good start. Let's have a look at... It's a good start, but now the disk is stuck in the drive. Ah, there we go. Let's have a look at... We won't start 1, 2, 3 because that is... Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's boot DOS. MS-DOS and see what happens. Actually, that's a good question. CPM. So the way CPM works on the Rainbow, it's a high. As you see, it called itself. Oh, okay. It called itself CPM 86/80 because it can run both CPM 86 programs, which are .cmd files like help. But if you invoke a help, let's see. Oh, okay. Red was actually part of the stock load, was it? Nice. Okay. If you invoke a .com file, that's a CPM 80 8-bit executable, and it'll actually run that on the Z80. And the way it does that is it rejigs all the memory around. To free up the lower end of the memory space, which is where CPM requires stuff to run, and then transfers control over. Now we know the Z80 is working anyway, and the reason we know that is that the Z80 is the only part of the system that's allowed to talk to the floppy drive. So we already knew it was working. But okay, that managed to work. Return for no change. Exit to quit. Press exit to quit. I don't have a key marked exit. I have a key marked do. It must be one of the function keys. Okay, F10 is exit. Okay, I shall keep waffling, Majenko, thank you. So let's try help again and see if it tells us what the equivalent of Control-Alt-Delete is. Stops running from Control-C, well I could guess that one. Nope. Okay. Setup. So that is Control F3. Oh, to reset type Control Setup. So let's pop in an MS-DOS boot disk. And Control Setup. And boot from drive B, which you won't see MS-DOS booting from drive B very often. Okay, version 2, so we have subdirectories, that's always good. It is the 11th of April 2025 and it is 1903. Year 2K compliant. Okay, what do we have here? Config. Debug, always good. Check disk. In. Oh, Massum. Okay, nice. Media check and read CPM. I wonder what those do. Media check. Absolutely no idea. What version of Massum is that, I wonder? Sorry, did it say Tuesday? I missed that, I shall have a look. Massum 1.1, nice. Ha! Okay, there we go. Obviously config sys needs a country equals 044. A page of right protect stickers and no glue. We definitely had. Let's see if it likes that directive. I definitely saw a sheet of right protect stickers floating around in this box somewhere. Oh, it doesn't like it. Rude. Maybe that was a DOS 3 feature. I am not going to try just yet the Lotus 123 original. That sounded like Majenko announcing he'd just gone live. But what I will try is the 123 utility disk. Okie doke. So we'll give Majenko a few minutes to get himself warmed up. We have a disk labelled Rainbow Games. hard disk utility, multi-plan. Oh. Where have I put... Backup. I could have sworn there were the other... I've got the 123 system disk, but because that is copy protected, it is an original, and I do not want to risk any originals in it until I've cleaned this or inspected this drive, because it's making very grindy noises. And drive A is not working. But let's have a look at the Rainbow Games disk. I don't know whether this is a DOS disk or a CPM disk, but we'll find out. It's a DOS disk. I'm going to guess this needs graphics, and the graphics board is sitting on the floor. Oh no. Okay, no, I'm not going to bother with that. Illegal move. Reboot. Anyway, I think we'll call that a good evening's work. Let me switch back to that camera. So we have... yes, indeed, it's 2 misnumbered sectors on the last track, so it can definitely be copied, but the implication is that it wasn't copied originally. It is actually a original disc. And I like having original discs where possible, so I don't want to risk ruining it. I have imaged it, and it is the same disc that is on WinWorld. Oh, and there's a sheet of Right Protect stickers. There we go. Anyway, that's gone well. I was expecting it to put up more of a fight, frankly. So we've got things we can still look at. We can still look at cleaning up the floppy drive, refurbishing it a bit, make it sound better. We haven't tested the hard drive, we haven't tested the graphics, and we haven't tested the expanded memory. So we've got stuff to do. But promising start. So thank you everybody for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Don't know if I'm going to be around on Friday. It might be earlier in the day on Friday. Tuesday I might do some stuff. We'll see. It depends on what Majenko's up to with PDP-11, because he's free for more days next week. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I shall see you next time, whenever that happens to be, and let's go talk to Majenko.